Hold up, wait a minute. You thought the Marvel news was finished? Nah, because they really said, I think we ain't done yet. Because we just got a whole bunch of insane news about the MCU that includes some doomsday story details, Daredevil Born Again Season 3, the return of the legendary StarLord, who, Shang-Chi 2, Black Panther 3, and a crazy Marvel comic crossover event that they're going to be adapting. And you know me, if I start seeing some dots, I'm going to make them connect because I got a brain blast. And I'm going to give this news 4 big dooms. Doom, 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 do, 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 do. Either way, me and you know what we got to do. We got to talk about it. Off rip, this news comes to us exclusively from Alex Perez at the Cosmic Circus doing his part 4 of his August Q&A. He revealed some things that are interesting. And let's start off with news about Wonderman because I know a lot of you are probably wondering who this is, man. I think this show is going to be a lot more important than people realize because we just found out that Agent Cleary of the DODC is going to be appearing in Wonderman. And according to Alex Perez, Agent Cleary and the DODC are going to have very similar roles to the roles they had in She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel. And obviously Spider-Man No Way Home, which was the first time we saw Agent Cleary. And if you've been following my page and my theories, you know just how big of a role I think the DODC is going to have in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think it's going to be the film where all of their shit kind of explodes, and that's why we see so many villains and so many heroes having to come help. And in the comics, Simon Williams has a very interesting backstory. He's actually had some run-ins with the Magia, and I'm starting to get this weird feeling / inkling that I feel like Wonder Man's powers aren't just going to be based off of ionic energy. I feel like for some reason they're going to be somewhat gamma powered as well. We did get our first little glimpse and tease at I think him using his powers, unless this is him on set. And this still looks very much energy based, ionic based. But on top of everything I just mentioned and theorized, I feel like Wonder Man, the show, is actually gonna be pretty damn good. Because if you don't know, it seems like they're gonna be taking the Barry approach with this show, in that he's an actor within the context of the MCU trying to be Wonder Man the character, but he's actually gonna end up being the real Wonder Man. The fact that we got Sir Ben Kingsley reprising his role as Trevor Slattery, aspiring actor, who seems to be playing like a keen integral supporting character to Wonder Man Simon Williams. I would not be surprised if we see Ralph Boner in this show too. If we got actors, might as well throw him in here. But this show could be setting up a lot. I feel like they might be swapping out the Magia with the 10 rings for Simon Williams' origin in the MCU. Because mind you, we also got Demetrius Gross cast as the Grim Reaper, Simon Williams' brother. If they want to touch on the whole Vision and his brainwaves and that throuple between him, Scarlet Witch, and Vision, they could get it started here. But regardless, don't sleep on Wonder Man. Also because I love Yaya. But moving on to the next bit of news, which I found very interesting and could also connect to Wonder Man. Alex Perez revealed that StarLord will reportedly be building a new team in the MCU. So not the Guardians of the Galaxy. Ever since we got the legendary StarLord will return in the end credits of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and we saw that Peter Quill is now living on Earth, having reunited with his grandpa. By the way, this has to be one of the best ways to bookend a trilogy, opening up with him and his grandpa, and ending with him and his grandpa, with him wearing basically the same fit as a grown-ass adult and having a JanSport backpack. Like, it's just beautiful. Love it. But since then, we've been trying to figure out what the hell StarLord's role could be in the MCU moving forward. Like, was he going to eventually return with the Guardians? I think that's where everyone's minds immediately went. Could we be getting a legendary StarLord series, show, spinoff? And then we got a curveball thrown at us when we got this leaked concept art that showed StarLord chilling with White Vision in a suburban neighborhood. By the way, we'll probably figure out why they're hanging out in the White Vision series, which is another series we should be talking about more. We're getting the man who thinks a lot about meteors. But regardless, I think StarLord's going to start up his new team after all of these events, Secret Wars, and this will lead into the next saga of the MCU. Because my dog also got to get his red trench coat back, his helmet back, his boosters, and he needs a new Walkman. Let's get some AirPods, little bro. What are we talking about? But the team I think he's going to end up leading is the MCU's version of the Annihilators. Now, I'm not even going to hold you. This is one of the most powerful groups in Marvel Comics history. Look what you're looking at right now. We got Gladiator, Silver Surfer, Bizarre, Beta Ray Bill, running the Accuser, etc. But this group has changed over the course of the years, and I think it's definitely going to be MCU-fied, and it'll be a little bit different. As you just know, if we had this group, they would be nerfed to hell. But I think the team is going to look a little bit something like this in the MCU. StarLord maybe being the leader. I think we're definitely going to get Nova introduced here. It would be fun to have Captain Marvel being here, just so she can interact in another group ensemble. And she's very cosmic-based, so yes, give us Beta Ray Bill after fucking teasing him in Thor Ragnarok, please. Adam Warlock, I think, is going to be our Khazar replacement. I actually don't think we're going to get Gladiator just yet. We might, because if it does take place after the events of Secret Wars, then we can introduce the Shi'ar Empire and their connection to the X-Men. I feel like in this movie they'll end up probably fighting each other anyway, so it'd be smart to have like Gladiator or fucking Beta Ray Bill be the villain, quote unquote, for a little bit in the movie before they realize, oh, there's a bigger threat. But sticking with the cosmic news, Alex Perez also mentioned that the Skrulls still have a future within the MCU. So hopefully we finally get an actual Secret Invasion adaptation. There's still a whole lot they can do with the Skrulls. And can we actually get a real fucking Super Skrull? But the craziest bit of news from Alex Perez has to be the fact that Marvel Studios is developing a Judgment Day adaptation, which in case you don't know is a fucking crazy storyline that mainly features the X-Men versus the Eternals, with the Avengers and like other ancillary heroes involved in this giant fucking event where the Eternals find something weird going on with the X-Men gene and they think they're deviants and, you know, they kind of start fighting each other. And we actually got a little tease at that when Arishem showed up at the end of Eternals saying, "I will be back to judge this earth." Well, it looks like the MCU does have plans for the Eternals in the future, but way down the line in the Mutant Saga. But this could actually end up being a very interesting, compelling story if they're done right in the MCU, and I'm excited to see them do it. And on top of that, Alex Perez also mentioned that Shang-Chi 2, Black Panther 3, and Strange Academy are all in active development at Marvel Studios. So no, they have not forgot about Shang-Chi 2, which, you know, came out in 2021. We still ain't got a sequel for it. To me, is one of the greatest origin stories in the entire MCU. I just love it. I love that it's a Western, watered-down wuxia film, which is, you know, complimentary. I need to see more, bro. Expand on the lore. Show us more of Shang-Chi's power. Tell us what's happening with the Ten Ring. Maybe we get introduced to an Iron Fist and Kung Lung. The potential for Shang-Chi in the MCU is just like through the roof, and I'm so mad that we haven't gotten anything yet. And then obviously I'm juiced for Black Panther 3 just because I'm a fucking Ryan Coogler meat rider. That's my dog from the Bay Area. The fact that we already know that Ryan is basically already cast and wants to cast Denzel Washington, who's like, yeah, I'm ready when you ready, has me even more excited, bro. We got Denzel Washington in a Black Panther movie. What are we talking about? And it'll most likely take place after Secret Wars, so we'll probably get a grown-up T'Challa Jr. And as for who the villain could be, shit, maybe Laveria. All I know is I'm juiced to see where Ryan takes that movie. And then Strange Academy, I feel like we basically already knew that was gonna happen. Probably be a show or something. We got hints and teases of that with Ironheart, and if I had to guess, it'll probably be a Wong-centered story. Maybe even Ned Leeds shows up since he knows how to fucking open up Marvel special circles. But regardless, interesting nonetheless. And the final bit of news that Alex Perez let us know is the fact that Marvel Studios wants to use Jeff the Shark as their new baby Groot in the future of the MCU. How they're gonna make that happen, I don't know, but I'm excited to see it. Now that's all the news we got from Alex Perez in his August Q&A. But moving on to what Daniel RPK had to say, we had an update stating that many of the cast members for Avengers Doomsday have already wrapped their scenes. However, they are expected to return for multiple reshoots, which is something that I said when we heard that Pedro Pascal was already done filming. You already know they're gonna have to do reshoots because the script ain't even finished yet. And honestly, just take your time with that script, you know? Make this a good movie, please. Don't just make it a jingling key fest. Please, I need it to be a compelling story. And finally, according to Nexus Point News, Marvel Studios has already begun prepping for a third season of Daredevil Born Again, which I'm so happy and grateful to hear because just the other day we heard Charlie Cox, which I still maintain that he just kind of misspoke when he called season 2 the final season. I think he meant it more as like, you know, this last season that we just filmed. Plus, I think we already knew that they signed up for 3 seasons at least in their contracts. And there's just no way they wrap up the events of Devil's Reign, which I believe they're still adapting for Daredevil Born Again, in 2 seasons. There are still so many incredible stories you could tell with Daredevil and Kingpin and the entire mixed pot of the New York City landscape within the context in the MCU. Like, can we finally get Spider-Man in this bitch? All of the other New York City-based Defenders? Are we ever gonna get the Return of the Hand, Elektra? At that rate, 3 seasons? Nah, they're in here for at least 6, buddy. But either way, that's all the new news and updates we got from Marvel. My thoughts, theories, and opinions. Let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments below. And as always, like and follow for more.